and of course, I think the most important area, memory. That's the one. So we at GrandCare Systems have always placed a high priority on social connectivity. We feel that keeping the senior in touch with even remote families mitigates loneliness and isolation, and in turn, of course, is a deterrent to dementia. You see on this slide a few pictures of the Borg. Remember the Borg from the Borg Queen is down there in the lower left? The Borg, of course, was a collective consciousness of man and machine, which is essentially what Facebook is, at least the beginning. It is, when you really think about it. So, we are working now and of course, we think we have all the things covered in terms of monitoring, telehealth, and activities, but we're working now on a searchable memory of database for an individual of people, places, events in their lives, so that we can help refresh well-worn neural pathways. Let's take this one step further and imagine a system that can look at a person and recognize this. Now, I know Jim already kind of stole my thunder here, but imagine that a system that can recognize faces even as they age. Now, you slap that in a pair of bifocals and you've really got something. And you are a senior cyborg. Now, the CIA probably has a device like this already, probably trying to identify people from Yemen. But let's hope that it makes to peacetime application soon, and then in 10 years from now, and I think by that time we'll be Gandalf the White Summit, we'll be able to recognize one another. So, let me give you a final real-time example. Next slide, please. Say, for instance, you receive a communication from an alien life force like your granddaughter. It might look like this, to which most people over 40 would say, eh? Now, God forbid we should exceed the 160-character limit. So sure, this looks like gibberish, but fortunately your machine side comes to your assistance, provide the translation, and you see this. Next slide. Now, my favorite one among this texting thing is asterisk $sign. Anyone catch asterisk $sign? Mm-hmm. Starbucks. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. So this helps keep mom and dad in the loop. Keeps mom and dad in the loop, more connected and happier, and yes, in that way, even safer. Next slide. It is clear that the boomers have a bit of denial problem with aging. Thus, empowering the boomers with machine enhancement, combined, of course, with a little nip and tuck, is probably the only solution that they will accept. It's the next step, and of course, resistance is futile. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie. And that concludes the humor portion of this segment. No, I'm just kidding. Next, we're going to have Vijay from WellCore go through his technology and some of his thoughts on keeping mom and dad safe at home.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Sandra, and thank you all for attending. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. So WellCore is a company that I started about 2.5 years back when my mother had a serious fall in the dead of winter in Chicago. She had gone out for a walk in the park, and she had a slip. She slipped and she fell on some ice, and we didn't find her for a long time. So I'll get back to that story later. But that whole incident made me start thinking about the fact that there is really not much that exists in the industry today for helping people address such situations. So, can you go to the next slide? So, the basic theme here is that monitoring of seniors is something that is required in society. Charlie already asked that great leading question, how many of you care about your seniors? And I already know the answer to that, so I won't ask it again. But fundamentally, there are essentially three things if you can really condense it down. So the first is you need to really address their safety and their wellness. And obviously safety and wellness is a bit of a canopy. There are different things that factor into it, but it could be all the way from falls to their day-to-day safety or vital signs or whatever it is. But safety is a big, big part of it, and that is something fundamental that really has to be dealt with. The second thing that they all care about, that we need to care about when you address such a situation is that need to live independently. How many seniors do you know of who are shouting up and down, I want to go to a nursing home? How many of them say, I must go to a retirement home tomorrow? So that's the answer right there. And also with what's happening with the whole healthcare system right now, and also with the tidal wave of baby boomers that are all getting into that age bracket, we're going to find that we're going to need solutions that will make it possible for seniors to live independently and comfortably at home and with a lot of peace of mind. So the independence is a major, major theme in this. And the last thing, the third thing that we need to worry about is essentially staying close and connected. In other words, having a bond between the senior and the caregiver. Again, that cannot be understated. You'll find that among seniors who need to be protected, that the caregivers are very often the catalyst for the senior adopting some of these technologies or products or services that we are about to invent or put out in the market. Very often they'll pay for those services, they'll ensure mom and dad use them, and it's something which the seniors care about and the caregivers care about, essentially staying in touch. Caregivers, obviously all of you know that feelings of boredom, loneliness, depression, anxiety, irrelevance are a major theme, and they really want someone to stay connected with them. And who better than their own son or daughter? One more click. Mm-hmm. So the market drivers in this are the following. So, and this again ties a little bit to what we are doing as a company, but falls is a big, big area of concern. There are other areas too, but essentially, I think many of you know that falls are the leading cause of injury to seniors, and also the leading cause of hospital costs, at least among non-critical, non-fatal types of situations. We all know that the number of baby boomers that are in the industry, and certainly this audience does, I'm sure, will be doubling or close to doubling in the next 20 years. So there's a tidal wave that's approaching. Every other age bracket between now and 20 years out will increase only by about 3 to 4%, if that. Some are actually even flat. 65 and over is double the growth. And the third thing is that the existing products that are out there in the market today have been around for about 20 years, and of course there's a certain number of people that use them, but they are really inadequate. And we can get into that, but they really don't serve the need. Next slide, please. So there are many solutions that are needed to solve this kind of problem. What we have done is a solution which really helps to monitor seniors, and we do that essentially with a little sensor like this, which people wear. It's a working product, and what you do is you basically clip it on over here, and it is essentially monitoring their activities throughout the day. It will detect when they fall through some very accurate pattern recognition, but moreover, it's a device which we feel is a companion, and it works indoor by communicating their falls and other activities through a base station, and it works outdoor when you go seamlessly by communicating through a cell phone. So it works both indoor and outdoor. It's not just something which is within the home only. It does that very seamlessly. So as you can see over there, when somebody has a fall, for example, and let's say they're not unconscious, and they could be inside or outside, but let's say they're inside for now, there'll be a signal that is sent through that base station to an operator who can then call back and see if the person is doing okay. And if the person cannot answer that call, if they're unconscious, then the operator can take the decision to send help to them to their address. If they step outside the home, they'll grab their keys, they'll grab their cell phone, they put the cell phone in their handbag, they're out the door. And if they have any accident outside the home, or let's say something else happens to them, maybe they're feeling faint or something, either through the detection of the fall or pushing a button, an alert will be sent when they're outdoor and along with the location, and they can essentially get help summoned to them as well. So this is something which we are doing. Obviously, there are many, many other solutions having to do with other types of monitoring.